Like I said, today is Tuesday, March 6th, the year of our Lord 2018. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk, Bobcat, Saloon radio show. I've been remiss. Perhaps I should say I've been away. And I have been away. I've been places, doing things, enjoying all the comforts that chemicals and various other elements can provide. It's been a grand time, but now it's back. We're back to getting on board with the show in like a lion, no outing like a lamb. Tonight, I've got a great show. First, it starts with Kari Baxter Donovan. Kari Baxter Donovan, who I quantify as the East Coast political goddess, will be on tonight. She'll be calling in about 10 minutes or so. And in the intervening 2 weeks in which I've been gone, I haven't been on anybody else's show, so fear not, I haven't been bigfooting anybody else. I have been busy, otherwise occupied, shall we say. But in those intervening 2 weeks, a ton of things are happening. Some of them I'm going to kind of gloss over a little bit. But if you were to look and listen to nothing but the mainstream, what they call the mainstream media, what I term the American media maggots, everywhere you look is gloom and doom. Doom here, gloom there. I say, no, not necessarily. Especially, my God, things change. As I've said before, things change literally now, these days. By the week, by the day, and even sometimes by the hour. Well, today, 3 big stories came up. And in the meantime, the American media maggots, is my term for the mainstream media, the American media maggots have gone off the deep end on some guy whose name isn't even worth repeating, who said that, I'm not going to testify if Mueller calls me, I'm done. Look, the guy was drunk or on drugs, and the American media maggots thought that it would be grand fun to display him and let him say all the stupid shite he wanted to, which, in fact, he certainly did, as is his wont and is his right. Later on, he said, well, okay, I guess I will be testifying in front of Mueller. But, see, those are deflections. Those are things to make you think that those are the only things that are occurring. Now, I will preface things by saying this. I wanted to have Dan Butcher on tonight as well, besides Kari. But Dan had to come back and said, no, I'm sorry. You know, Dan has his own media. He is a media magnet, M-A-G-N-A-T-E, not M-A-G-N-E-T. And Dan was up to his arse in alligators and he's been that way all day. He will be that way all tonight and probably all tomorrow because essentially the midterms have started now, and they've started in Texas. And depending on who it is that you believe, either fire and brimstone and all hell is going to be raining down on the mighty fields of Texas because it's going to go blue. Texas is going to go blue if you listen to all the American media maggots, because that's essentially all they've been saying today. I'm not saying myself that, as George C. Scott said, I'm not saying we wouldn't get our hair mussed a little bit. And there might be a little hair mussing involved. But for all the doomsayers and naysayers who are insisting that it's the end of the world, we're going to fall off the ledge, it's more of the Flat Earth Society. No, necessarily. I don't believe that that's true. Now, I bring up Dan Butcher because Dan is going to be on. He's agreed to be on the show on Thursday. Now, by Thursday, I think we'll have a pretty good view of perhaps what happened in Texas, because I don't know yet. We don't know yet. We won't know until tomorrow. There are lots of seats up, And folks at this point, folks, meaning the American media maggots, are saying that there's going to be a massive turnout like you've never seen before of Democrats in the state of Texas, and they're going to take back every seat they possibly can. Okay, we'll wait. But Dan is going to be here on Thursday, and the primary thing that I wanted to talk to him about was just that. And like I say, by then we should know a lot more information. Some people are saying, the American media maggots are saying that first, Texas is going to get its arse stomped, and then the Democrats are going to do some stomping all across the fruited plain in 2018, and they're going to take all this crap back. And they're saying it's starting in Texas. Tonight, it's starting in Texas. And they're also saying, however Texas goes, that's how the rest of the nation is going to go as well. I'm a bit sketchy on that whole Texas thing. I've got lots of good stories to talk about tonight, and we're going to be talking to Kari Baxter Donovan. There's so much stuff, again, but it's not I will say this. I judge a show on how many tabs I have set up on the ancient Sony Vaio laptop that you can't see over here, because it takes 2 laptops to run BZ's show. And as a matter of fact, it's not a 32-tab show. It's a 28-tab show. So a little bit less than normal, but I just remembered I am terribly remiss in terms of I'm not in chat. So I'm going to have to get into chat right now. And so in chat, I see Traveling Cynic and Mike's there, and I'm there, except that I just haven't logged in yet. So I was busy setting up the show, doing all sorts of other things, and since we're here, I may as well tell you this. I tried to log in. Now, when you go live, you have to log in with Facebook, so I am live on Facebook. You go to the SHR Media Facebook page, and there we are, live and direct right now. And you can go to shrmedia.com if you just want to listen. That's fine. And, of course, in the chat room, it's folks are here. Traveling Cynic says the lava light is, in fact, lighted. And that's absolutely correct. But in the meantime, after I logged into Facebook, customarily, when they loved us, I would be able to log into YouTube. So I thought, tonight, you know what? I'm going to try it officially. YouTube has not gotten back to us in any way, shape, or form about why it is that they slashed us dead. But what do you expect? That's what social media does, essentially, to conservatives, is they, when they can, slash us dead. So I officially attempted to log into YouTube tonight to see if it would allow me to go live, and it sent me this massive error message and basically said, BZ, you can go straight to hell. Don't stop anywhere. Don't collect $200. Don't do any of that shit. Just go right to hell. So you may be glad, you may not be glad to know that we are still in YouTube prison. When we get out, we do not know. That is an excellent question. So at least if you want to listen, you can do that on SHR Media. And if you want to watch, you can go to the SHR Media Facebook page and do so right now. I like to start the show on something of an up notice, and I have, as I indicated, lots of good, positive stories tonight, so we got about another 3 minutes. Let's start one of them, shall we?
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Well, here's one. Following the Parkland, Florida shooting, Delta Airlines thought it would be an excellent idea to listen to the inherent wisdom of 16-year-olds with regard to the Bill of Rights. And Delta Airlines decided that it was going to sever corporate discounts offered to the NRA because of, well, corporate cowardice, is the way I term it. They'd much rather side with those who'd remove American freedoms, specifically the Bill of Rights, than with our foundational documents. MarketWatch.com had it this way. The NRA backlash, United Delta are latest companies to dump gun lobby discounts. Terrible, major, heinous. If I had a producer, I would have a producer who did something like this. And if I had a producer, they would have come in with this also. Thank you. But I don't have a producer because all I have is me. Airlines United and Delta are the latest and among the biggest in a string of companies cutting largely promotional ties with the National Rifle Association in the wake of last week's mass shooting at the Florida high school. Fine, okay. Delta and other companies are well within their rights to eschew their partnerships, of course, affiliations, and whatever discounts they may want to with other entities at a moment's notice if it's within contractual limits, because you frequently sign contracts with these things. And so, you know what? Freedom. I'm all about it. Absolutely all about it.
Ever since Delta Airlines wanted to cut ties with the NRA and what would have been discounted rates for NRA members, well, it created some hackles from unexpected sources. In Georgia, they're trying to end a tax exemption that it enjoys right now.
Oh, wait. No. Georgia is starting to... Oh, would that be retribution? Would that be retributive? I actually said the word, okay? Well, I don't know. Let's listen.
Are you punishing Delta because of the NRA move alone, that it is discontinuing this program?
Well, let's get this straight. This is a state issue. What I think is Delta made a very big miscalculation. And I think what they didn't understand was the fact of one of the very strong sentiments in the Senate down in Georgia, in the Georgia legislature, on what this would actually mean. And I think many of the senators down there took it as a direct, affront to a conservative value. But I have all due respect to Governor Deal. I think Governor Deal is working on this. I think you're going to see a solution. I think you'll see something that everybody can come to terms with.
You're threatening, not you, it's only your congressman, but those state lawmakers are saying we're going to take this away from you because of that move. That sounds pretty Big Brotherish to me.
Well, I think what they're saying is look, many times when you attack, what is amazing is when liberal organizations attack, things that get attacked on the conservative side, people are going to respond. Many times they don't respond. What the legislators are doing down there is responding and saying, we don't like what you did, and we're going to take a closer look at this. Look,
then let it hurt their business. Let it hurt their business. Well, let the see if they.
Well, it's about freedom, for God's sake, right? Delta is not Delta. I ask you. Those listening live, those in the chat room, and those who are listening in podcast, I ask you, is not Delta free to remove any and every discount that it possibly wants to? It's a corporation. It gets to do that. That's called freedom. That's a capitalistic society, free market. That's the way it works. On the other hand, there can be, in fact, consequences to things that you do in a free market economy. And so Delta has to be ready and prepared for whatever consequences may come. Now, historically, this is what I find so just wonderful, is that this has never really happened before on a state level. So can you imagine how nonplussed Delta may be about this? Because the other thing I want to tell you is this. Atlanta, where Delta's hub and headquarters is in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta is the #1 busiest airport in the United States. One of the reasons is because it happens to be Delta's hub. So this does get just a little bit personal for Delta, but hey, they're free to do what they want, and the state of Georgia is, of course, free to do whatever it wants as well.
Suffer in the free market as a result. You would be just as aghast if there was something that a left-leaning group had wanted to see and a company did the opposite and wanted to pick at them. This is just as bad or worse, right?
Wow, look, Nick, this is exactly what I've said, Neil. They've been talking to us. Say, look, we think they made a mistake. They're going to adjust it. The Senate is going to react as a political body does. But let's also hear this. Governor Deal, I believe, I have faith in Governor Deal and the rest of them to work that out down there. And Delta understands, I think, the miscalculation.
No, what the governor wants is the move here. You either change your position on the NRA or you're going to lose this this
Well, that was the
exemption.
lieutenant. That was the lieutenant governor.
I know that, but if he
yeah.
doesn't do that, I mean, that's the issue that he is expected to force. You either reconsider your association right now with the NRA, or you're going to lose this.
Okay, stop. Neil's goading this guy a little bit because that's what you have to do when you're a member of the media. You have to get something out of your interview. Granted, I understand that. But this is nothing more than being accountable. Actions have consequences, and this is one of the first times in my awareness in which a corporation has been hoisted on the petard of its own creation. So I have to say, there's just a bit, okay, there's a lot of schadenfreude going on within the ZEP right now because of this situation.
I mean, that's an episode out of The Sopranos.
Well, it's also an episode out of an election year, too, Neil. And I think what you got to look at down there is this is part of it.
Right? Let people decide.
Yeah.
If they're so offended by this, and there are a lot of people who are genuinely offended. All these companies walking away and scared about being associated with the NRA, I can understand a lot.
Oh, there's a particular element of this, however, that nobody's spoken about yet. And if they don't in this video, I will gladly, because it's even more almost bordering on hysterical or stupid in terms of Delta's initial action. And then the reaction.
A lot of their concern, or they're big gun owners, or they support the Second Amendment. But this is going even further, right?
Well, I think it is. I think that's what it started out as.
So do you think it's a mistake? Do you think it's a mistake, Congressman, that they're going one step too far here?
Well, I think they're highlighting it probably a little bit more than it should. Delta made a mistake as a private company. I believe they made a mistake. I think
you just said it.
public,
they made a mistake as a private company, and they're also a big employer in your state, right?
Oh, they're very much so. But they'll have to adjust that to the market. I think what we got, there's two separations here. You can express dissatisfaction with what they did, but you can also find a way to get legislation that needs to pass in Georgia to get that passed. So that, because there's some ways down there that are out of compliance with federal regulations, they're going to have to get this. This is part, by the way, of a bigger package down there of tax relief.
No, I understand that, but Congressman, you're also very good at this. If you have to realize here that someone threatening, a tax break because you're not sharing their view on an association with an organization.
Wait a minute, Neil. Stop. It's a tax break. Quantifying that it's evil to remove a tax break is like what the Democrats say with regard to funding. As far as the Democrats are concerned, here's what a budget cut is. And you may or may not have heard this before, but it's how D.C. operates. A budget cut, according to Democrats, or essentially any politician, is if you don't increase the funding level, that's a budget cut in their mind. If you simply have a given budget and leave it from one fiscal year to the next fiscal year, if you leave it the same as far as they're concerned, it's a budget cut. So Delta was giving a discount to the NRA. Delta removed the discount. Now, Georgia, the state of Georgia, was giving a tax break to Delta. And Georgia doesn't give a tax break to everyone, so that was kindness on Georgia's part. Well, it was a kindness on Delta's part that Delta removed. Actions, reactions, there are still consequences in life, and I think Neil is going a bit over the top on this. But you have to remember, Neil comes at this in terms of business. He thinks this is way too much of a reaction for the initial movement that Delta made. I completely disagree.
In this place, the NRA, be careful what you wish for, because if every state, locality, God forbid, on the federal level did that with decisions that companies make that might not deem popular, man, oh man, you might as
well. Like the left hasn't done that before, Neil. Like the left hasn't done that and given tax breaks to people it grandly wants to support. And the government shouldn't be in the matter of supporting particular businesses. Should it, Neil?
As well kiss capitalism goodbye, right? Let them suffer the consequences of their actions.
I'm all for that, and I think they're going to.
And they are, Neil. They are.
Suffer the consequences for it.
Have you told that to your colleagues? I know this is on the governor now is trying to find a middle ground here. What is the middle ground? If they don't retreat on this, it sounds to me like Delta is going to get kicked in the hiney.
Well, I think the issue is I think they will find a solution here, Neil. And I think the issue is there's very, volatile feelings on all.
You know what this is? Let me be honest. This is a wake-up call. Georgia is not a blue state. And like I said, there are consequences to one's action. If you're going to be silly, stupid, or fattening, corporations, politicians, most of the people in government, they're not used to consequences. They're not used to having their tails held to the fire. This grates at Neil. This hasn't been done before. Neil, I'm a little disappointed in you, sir.
All sides of this, especially coming out of the past week and a half. I think what we've got to do now is just focus on getting back to governing, and they're going to do that in Georgia.
But what's the middle ground here? I understand some of these legislators being upset with this move, and they don't support it, and they're big backers of the NRA. Fine. But all of a sudden you're saying, unless you change your mind, which was a business decision, many companies, dozens of companies, have backed away from the NRA. Whether you find that justified or not, that's another story. But
and they get to suffer the consequences as well. But here's the deal. If there are no consequences to that, to whatever they've done, that's great. That's fabulous. That's what freedom is all about.
Georgia's adding into the mix the possibility we're going to punish you for that. Let them see how it fares in the marketplace.
And California doesn't punish business, and leftist government doesn't punish business by all sorts of rules, regulations. All the regulations that Trump rolled back were regulations that were placed by the federal government under the Obama administration against businesses, because the entire Obama administration was anti-business. Neil?
Well, and again, I think what you got to look at here is what was said by the lieutenant governor. What is also being worked on in the process right now? What a middle ground will be, Neil? That's for them to decide.
I think you're smart. I think even you think, and regardless of using the NRA, I'm sorry, big supporter of the Second Amendment, that I think you think that this is dopey. I think it's a one leap too far.
Well, I think it's put a lot of people in a different position that maybe we can focus on the.
Oh, come on, Neil. Dopey. It's a wake up call. It's a wake up call. Don't be silly or stupid. Don't do something like this. For God's sakes, do you possibly think, Delta, that Georgia is an anti-NRA state? If you don't know your customers, if you don't know your surroundings, for fuck's sake, Delta, why did you decide that you were going to give the NRA a discount in the first place? Might it be because customers of Delta were NRA supporters? But there's, again, one aspect that they have not yet gone over with that it is so wonderful.
On the issues that we need to focus on. It happened to come up in a week in which this was there. It was available. And I think that's just where, for many times, conservatives have felt left out in this dynamic of the marketplace on saying, if something's like this, how it comes up, how do we express those views? I think that's what the lieutenant governor and the senators
look at this congressman and say, you know what, we've been based in Atlanta. We're doing all this stuff for Atlanta. We make a corporate decision, as dozens of others have, to sort of separate from this NRA association.
Okay, stop, Neil. Stop. You're really starting to piss me off now. Remember when Boeing wanted to move into, I think it was Georgia, as a matter of fact, from Seattle. And the Obama administration said that was wrong because they were attempting to get away from the influence of labor unions in Seattle. And the Obama administration said, as a matter of fact, Boeing, no, you can't do that. Was a purely political decision levied against a business. Neil, what happened to your institutional knowledge, your history, sir? Where did it go?
For the time being, maybe longer, and now they're jerking us. What's to say that Delta says goodbye, Georgia?
Well, I think they're a hometown airline. I was in the state legislature when Delta was hurting a few years ago, and we actually began a process of helping with that fuel. This has got to be an issue that we look at in the long term. This is a corporate relationship.
Tax break is being reconsidered for them simply because of a decision they made to distance themselves from the NRA. And that is a slippery slope. I think you'd have to acknowledge that. If a Democrat legislator did that, a Republican legislator did that, that's a slippery slope, right?
Well, I think
Neil, wake the fuck up. It's happened before.
It can be a slippery slope, but I think that's exactly why the Governor Deal and others are trying to say, let's fix this. Let's make this a place where both can live in the views that they have.
Do you know where the governor stands on this? Is he going to go so far as this? Someone is going to have to wake up and realize there are a lot of other companies doing this. Do we just stop our association with them as well?
Well, I think what we have found here is a unique opportunity on a bill that was beforehand that had a unique connection to a company that did this. Let's not take this and divorce this from the facts. This was a strong-arming opportunity,
Congressman. This wasn't a unique opportunity. You saw this tax, not you particularly, but it seemed like some people saw this tax exemption and said, this is where we can get them.
Well, I think also it's another part of it, and there's some legislators down there that didn't want to do this for other reasons.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think
well, then they should say that.
And that's a corporate, that's more of an issue. So I think we're just going to see it. I think it'll work out. But also at the same time, there is always slippery slopes in here. That's why we need to deal in policy. That's why we need to continue to see an economy that continues to work, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Yeah, the tax exemption should stand on the tax exemption's merits and not what a company does or doesn't do on the marketing front. And if it doesn't pan out for the company, they're the ones who are going to suffer, not you guys. Right?
Oh, and I believe Delta is finding that out very quickly right now.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Perfect. And Delta is finding that out right now. Yes, they are. Wake the hell up. Now, I wanted you to see, I should say, Neil's take on this, because Neil is all about business. So when business is hurt and he perceives that Delta's business is, in fact, hurting, it has been hurt, let's call this what it is. It's a statement. Just like Delta made a statement. Delta wanted to make a corporate statement so that it thought that if it hadn't made this statement, perhaps others would flee. Or someone up in the on the 15th floor of the Delta building decided that we are going to take our own personal political stand. And then as a result of that, someone in the Georgia state government said, well, wait a minute. You're going to do that, then maybe we need to renegotiate or take a peek at this tax relief that we give Delta on its fuel. Because, quite frankly, that's exactly what it's about. But here's what wasn't discussed. You know what? What wasn't discussed? I think we're going to have to talk about that after we return.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplains.talkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Sam on SHR Media. You can listen to my new show starting on Tuesdays in January. Get my perspective on national politics, a conservative's perspective on California politics, the latest in the war on terror, all of that and a lot more here on Tuesdays at SHR Media. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Sam_SHR Media.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians, a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless, hope to the hopeless, clues to the clueless. Sackheads Sean, Sackheads Clint, and Sackheads BZ. The Sackheads Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern on shrmedia.com. Watch on YouTube, Facebook, and the High Plains Pundit Network. The best in late-night conservative talk, the Sackheads Radio Show, only on the SHR Media Network.
Go ahead, I'll say it again.
Some of the best A-roll is going to be B-roll.
Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Just the last question that you really cut a couple seconds.
Yeah, I'm a freaking artist. I can't just come up with this shit off the top of my head. Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Are you there?
Good point. Exactly right. It's the break, Kari.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint, and with Sackhead
okay.
Sean, Sackhead BZ. No communists allowed on the SHR Media Network.
Damn straight, mister.
Back to the show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And you are listening to the SHR Media Network. It's BZ live and direct right here on the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. And being the intuitive persons that you are, I'm sure you already heard me speak sotto voce to Kari Baxter Donovan, who's going to be on in just a moment. But I wanted to go back very briefly to the story that I was talking about in terms of Delta. Here's the one thing that Delta decided it was going to fight against. It was going to make a statement. And the statement that it was doing was this. It removed an NRA discount for, thousands and thousands and thousands of NRA members. It was really going to hurt the NRA by removing that discount, wasn't it? Well, no, because there are only 13 people from the NRA that happened to sign up for that discount. Hello, Delta 0, Georgia 1. Okay, enough of that. And now, live and direct from the Teleola phone, from the veritable east coast of the United Snakes of America, broadcasting here over magic. It's magic. There are lines implanted in feature this. There are lines implanted in the ground and overhead, buzzing with voices, thousands and thousands, millions and millions of voices. And all of them just chatting all over the place. Imagine what it must be like if you're wearing tinfoil right now. All the millions of voices you must be hearing. And somehow, through the magic of wire and BZ as well, I happen to sort through all of those voices and find the one. Find the East Coast political goddess. And that is Kari Baxter Donovan. And we have her on right now. Kari, welcome to you tonight, madame.
Thank you so much, and you make me want to listen to me. That's awesome. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Well, you should want to listen to you. You should want to listen to what you happen to say. Well, it's been 2 weeks.
I'm not sure about that.
Since I even had a damn show, for one. And in those 2 weeks, lots of things have happened. But the first thing that I want you to tell everybody, because, hey, if it's not about self-promotion, then what is this job about? First, tell everybody where you can be found and read on social media, because you are all over the place, madame.
So I have a new place that I've been writing for called the Populist Wire. populistwire.com, and the Facebook page is very lively and fun. We're actually switching to a new site this week, so there's not a lot going on, but there will be soon, and that's kind of, just talking about populism, and that's my new place, my new digs. And other than that, on Facebook and Twitter at Happit, HAPPIT 1776 on Twitter. I have a lot of fun on my Twitter account.
You have a lock on your Twitter account. Is it big?
I have a lot of fun. Over there. I'm sorry, I've got a little bit of a scratchy throat. I have a lot of fun on my Twitter account. So come visit me on Twitter and join in on the fun over there.
Well, we do. I'm just, like I said, SHR, we've had our arses kicked to the curb by YouTube. They don't like us anymore. Mm-hmm. And so that's right. Not so terribly shocking, but it's not just me. It's all of SHR. Like I told everybody tonight, I logged on to Facebook. You can watch live on Facebook right now, but I tried to do the exact same thing on YouTube, and YouTube wasn't having it. So YouTube, of course, because it's big, huge, and we're just little weenie winkers, YouTube has not responded in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. So we have no idea if we are kicked off in perpetuity, whether it's 30. Well, it's been over 30 days. Well, it's 60 days a suspension. Whether it's even a suspension, whether it's 90 days, we have no damn idea because they don't have to tell us. Isn't social media grand?
Well, isn't censorship grand? You know, it's just outrageous, and that tells you how powerful we are. That they have to go through these lengths just to try to keep us quiet, and yet they still can't win anything. So, you know what? We're going through a rough patch right now. I was banned off of Twitter twice last week. Shut down.
Okay, now let me interrupt just for a second now. How can you tell? Because as far as I know, YouTube did not send. Sean is the owner of SHR. Sean and Clint are the two owners. I am not an owner. So Sean and Clint, being the owners and operators of this segment, SHR Media through YouTube, they were sent absolutely nothing. Now, when you found that you were kicked off Twitter temporarily, did Twitter send you anything? Did they say anything to you?
Twitter did, and I know that this is all sort of an orchestrated, huge conspiracy between them, but they're all handling it different. Between them being, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube it's pretty well known that they're trying to shut down all sort of even Republican. It's not even conservative voices. It's anybody who supports Trump, I think, at this point. But when I was banned off of Twitter, there was a night when they basically wiped out thousands of Trump accounts, and what it was for was it was called a lockout, and they locked us out of our accounts, and they said it was for aggressive following, and so I got a note that said you are suspended for aggressive following, and I had on that day followed 92 people who had followed me first. And so the whole thing was like, are you doing it on purpose to have an excuse to kick us off?
Aggressive following.
And it was aggressive following, and I was only following people who had followed me first.
Wait.
And then if you go to look, there is a secret ratio, and they won't let you know what it is, and it depends on who you are. I mean, they say it right out there. Like, basically, we can do whatever we want. But it says, we will suspend you for aggressive following. There's a certain ratio you have to follow, but we're not going to tell you what the ratio is because it depends on different people.
Aggressive and you're just like, following.
Aggressive following. I followed 92 people that day.
I'm still back at aggressive following. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, folks. We're talking to Kari Baxter Donovan, the East Coast political goddess who knows all things political, and she happens to be on the East Coast, hence the appellation East Coast political goddess. But I have to.
You're being very generous.
Isn't it Twitter itself that says from the very beginning when you sign the fuck up, it says, hey, go out and start following people. Follow here, follow there. And then on the page, your individual page, to the side, to the left of the right, depending upon your configuration on Twitter, it also has a little column of people that you should follow. It suggests people that you should follow. What the fuck is aggressive following? They want you to follow.
want you. They don't want some people, and then they also say, well, because you have to keep your followers to followees ratio to a certain percentage, but that is kept secret, whatever that is. So I try to follow everybody who follows me, and then I'm actually following more people. But they could say, well, now you're following too many people who aren't following you. And it's like, well, okay, well, it depends on who you are. So I went from being shadow banned to, so now I'm aggressively following my followers.
Oh, I can feel.
It's so obvious that it's just a big FU to Trump supporters. And that's what they're going to do, and they're going to continue to do it, and it's going to get worse probably. We all know it. We just got to hang in there. And what I keep telling myself is, if they have to go to these extremes and out themselves for the tyrants that they really are, I mean, we're proving what tyrants they are. By forcing them to shut us down at every turn. I also got banned on Twitter timed out for 24 hours because I'm a little bit of a brawler. I like to troll. I have a good time on Twitter, and somebody was poking me, and I thought, hey, this is fun. I'll poke back. And so he's calling me, you idiot, you everything in the book, jerk, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, your point is invalid, and I was trying to apply some logic, and, I was having a good time with it. He was having a good time with it, whatever. And I said, that's interesting. By chance, are you retarded? I got timed out for 24 hours for that. Because that was insensitive, and it was against the rules of engagement or something.
The pansy, vagina-driven, limp-wristed, simplistic, snowflake fucktards in the social media atmosphere these days can't take the word retard, comma, you retards.
Right.
That's what we're... Jesus, these people, they're right off the UC Berkeley, the bastion of free speech. The bastion of free speech.
And I got a note, and so it said, you have been timed out for 24 hours. You have to press this button and agree to the terms, and that will start your 24 hours. And here's the post that was offensive. And so I did get a note. Going back to the question of,
I'm shocked.
Were you alerted?
I'm shocked.
Yeah,
absolutely
and I was alerted on Facebook. They sent me a tweet. I mean, they sent me a statement that I was being shut out of my Facebook account, and that one didn't tell me which post it was, but it said for offensive content. So that was how Facebook handled it. Now, I haven't been banned off of YouTube because I just have a little teeny tiny channel and nobody even watches it. And I don't know, maybe I've been banned off from posting on YouTube. But I know that they're handling this corruption of our free speech. They're going to claim that they're private companies. I think that the time has come when we start to call these companies utilities. Right?
I would wager. Now, White Mamba is in chat. His name is Paul. He's in Florida. He's an attorney. I won't out him. I know his last name, but White Mamba is an attorney in Florida. So, Mamba, if you're listening, I'm curious if there's any legal argument that you may sense whatsoever for indicating that these media, they're giants. They're beyond giant. They're almost to the point where in order to get anywhere, you need a license to drive a car, although it's still considered a privilege. And I would guess that you can make an argument that it's a privilege for you to get on Twitter or sign up for Google. But they've made themselves so institutionally entwined into your life that I'm curious, could a good attorney make an argument that they're so institutional that perhaps it is, in fact, time to treat them something like a utility? But on the other hand, if you go there, do you want to open that door? Because then you begin to open the door to the internet. And I want folks to leave the internet. Let me be quite clear. I want the internet left the fuck alone. However, that said.
And I agree with you. However, I've seen the underside of the belly of the beast with these media companies and what they're doing to prevent us from getting any news. Because now, there are no more newspapers, really. There are,
True.
but do you really read a newspaper? And then the media companies that we have choices from on television, they're all pretty much, garbage. Even Fox News is, you can pick here and there a few shows, but overall it's all a bunch of garbage, and they're not covering what they really should be covering. So then you have everything that all these little media companies are driven by Google ads, and Google can literally shut down a site in a second.
Yep.
And it's happened to me. Part of what the last time I was on, I was talking to you about a site that I thought was going very well, and I had gotten retweeted by James O'Keefe, and everything was going great. And 2 days later, these guys don't want to pay me for my articles because I'd been getting so many hits on my articles that they literally shut down my account and stole 50 articles and didn't pay me anything. And I'm just like, see, that's what happens with a lot of these companies, because the ad money will come in like 2 months after what they need to pay people, and so they are constantly trying to balance this back and forth. The people with big money aren't paying for news sites, and so in a sense, Google controls what news you get, because they have now gotten their little fingers in all of these little media companies which rely upon Google ads. And that's part of what happens with even like Alex Jones, who has a really big following. So I totally agree. Like, I don't really want the government involved in anything, except for the fact that Google has positioned itself to basically run the world.
Well, it's
like, what can we do?
It's made itself, in my opinion, it's made itself very clear in that regard. Let's see, what's the, what was, I don't even know if it is anymore, what was the initial motto of Google? It was something similar to first do no evil. And in my opinion, Google is doing...
That's right. That was a long time ago, wasn't it? Wow.
I don't even know if they have a motto, and whether that's the motto that they have any longer. In terms of social media, though, they have the ability to monetize or demonetize anyone or anything on social media, because the Alphabet company, which is the parent company, the umbrella company, it's like the umbrella company, it's like the Umbrella Corporation from that movie series, that franchise. The Alphabet company, they own Google, they own YouTube, and I'm missing something. There's something else that they own. What is it, folks in the audience, or Kari? I think they have one other huge bit, because Twitter is independent. They're not owned. Facebook is independent. Somehow I get the feeling that I'm missing something else that's linked up to Google, and I'm sure somebody can tell me. But in any event, because of the massive reach that they have, if they stop you, if they stomp you, if they decide that they're going to demonetize you, at this point, they really have to give no reasons whatsoever, or it's so nebulous.
They just let you down.
The reasons are so nebulous and so vague is you didn't follow the rules. Now, we're not going to tell you specifically which rule you didn't follow.
Right, we don't have to tell you what the rules
because
are.
We don't have to tell you which rule you didn't follow. And yet, on the other hand, we see all these people that were calling for the death of anyone, for example, and especially during the Trump campaign, all the people that were on Twitter that were calling for the assassination of Donald Trump. I replied and I liked it, and then I sent a tweet, boom, right to the U.S. Secret Service as well. I thought that was just me doing my patriotic duty, but a lot of those people, because they are leftists, they're still here. Imagine that.
So, yeah, I mean, the whole thing is so obvious that, that people with a certain political mindset are being persecuted. This is a lot different than won't bake a gay wedding cake. You're basically messing with the businesses and the intellectual property of people with a certain political mindset. It's so obvious who's being targeted and persecuted. So I believe that at some point, and I'm hoping it's going to happen before the the 2018 midterms, the elections that are coming up.
Yep.
But I don't know, maybe they won't get it together by then. I know there are lawsuits that are out there. I know Roger Stone and Charles Johnson, there's a number of people, I think maybe even Milo, who are suing. So I know that there are things in the works. And I know that President Trump knows about these problems that we're having. I know that, look at who he picked as a campaign manager, someone with a social media savvy. So that told me something.
Well,
wasn't
there also a story that came out either today, yesterday, or earlier this week indicating that people have indications that President Trump's tweets are being tinked with in some fashion?
Yeah, Breitbart had an article today where President Trump was tweeting out some Drudge headlines. They were behind a filter that was a sensitive filter. I have had here's something interesting. I was going to write an article about this, and it got tossed aside, but I had a video on YouTube. It was America, Paul Simon.
Okay.
Remember Simon and Garfunkel,
right.
America?
Certainly.
That was behind a sensitivity filter because it had the word America in it.
You're serious.
And I was like, I'm serious. I took a screenshot of it. I can get it to you. I'm serious. I was like,
oh, hell
what?
yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
So,
send that to
Trump,
me.
yeah, I will. I'll find it and I'll send it to you because I was going to write an article about it. So I have some research on it. And I had to call my son over, like, can you come over here and look at this? What the heck? So I will get that to you. But what you're talking about, Breitbart wrote about it, that President Trump's tweets were behind a sensitivity filter. So you had to go into your settings and take your sensitivity filter down, or your whatever it's called. But Breitbart wrote about it. I put that up on my Facebook page, I think.
There's some interesting. There's some interesting comments in the chat room. White Mamba said that he got locked out once after talking with some psycho who told him the world would be a better place if I blew my head off, meaning White Mamba. He had to verify.
Right, they can say whatever they want.
Oh, yeah. He had to verify his phone number to get back into his account, and he was sure that he got shadow banned as well. He also said that he hit the wall before he got 2,000 followers. They wouldn't let him follow more than 2,000 until he got close. And then also in terms of regulation, he says, I think it's a two-edged sword. When government decides to regulate, things tend to get worse and more expensive. And then I asked him, of course, about the legal argument in terms of that. And he responded, I don't know too much about the legal argument one way or the other, though the feds can deal with the Internet like the phone, etc., using interstate commerce clause. We have about 4 more minutes to the top of the break. Question number 1 for me is, can you hold over for the break, for the next segment?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Definitely. I'd love to.
Question number 2 then, and I won't ask for an answer now, and I'll let you and anybody else cogitate about it over the break. Like I say, we got about 3 more minutes left to the break. I've said this, and I would love to see this happen. I think it would be a back-breaking event. And I'm looking to see if perhaps the backs of the massive social media can somehow be cracked or at least fractured a little bit. Maybe not completely broken, because they do serve a purpose. But I think there's one thing that one person can do who has this ability in order to kind of set things straight. Now, I've sent innumerable tweets to this particular individual, and I'm one little person, one little fat fuzzball in a crowd of fat fuzzballs. But I fully believe that if this one thing were to happen, this one person were to do one action, it would clot the system. Leftist camshafts would be thrown all across the fruited plain. There would be PSH everywhere. You'd have to repaint the walls at Google. There'd be pants-shitting hysteria all through the bathrooms and the corridors of the Alphabet company. And that's this. I asked President Trump. I said, sir, I think it would be a wonderful thing if one day you decided that you were going to do this. abandon Twitter and go over to gab.ai. Can you imagine?
Right.
Can you imagine the wailing, gnashing of teeth, etc., that would occur because President Trump, in one stroke like that, would have the ability to remove, I believe literally, millions and millions of people and followers and interactions from Twitter and over to Gab. Now, Gab has, I don't know if you're on Gab. I am. I find...
Yeah, I've been on Gab from almost the beginning.
It took me probably 3-4 weeks before they accepted me. And I think that was because they were still young, they were formative. But basically, if you don't know what Gab is, and I got about 1 more minute to describe Gab, then we're going to take a break. And then we'll be back with Kari Baxter Donovan, the East Coast political goddess, right after this break at the top of the hour. But Gab is essentially another social venue in which to chat with other people, much like Twitter. Now, they espouse the fact that they truly do embrace freedom of speech, and they're very reticent to censor people. And they're what Twitter is to leftists, Gab is to the center and the right. And so with those abilities come some great potentialities that have not yet been met. I wish I could say, however, that I had complete confidence in the ability of Gab to be able to take the traffic of one day, because if let's say, for example, tomorrow morning, President Trump woke up and completely eschewed Twitter and closed his account or just abandoned it and just let it sit and started putting in messages from Gab, I really don't think that the leftists would have any idea what the hell hit them, and I'm afraid that Gab wouldn't either. Folks, we're talking to Kari Baxter Donovan, the East Coast political goddess. We will be right back. Don't go away right after this break. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Good evening. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show is featured on the SHR Media Network every Tuesday and Thursday night for 2 hours at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. Whilst manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ continues to radically change the world of leftists, one diaper at a time. Stop balancing your checkbooks. Stop cleaning your fish tanks. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show is your magnet for truth, justice, obesity, a darkened studio, and late-night freedom. No United States of America freedoms were abridged in the making of this ad.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians, a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless, hope to the hopeless, clues to the clueless. Sackheads Sean, Sackheads Clint, and Sackheads BZ. The Sackheads Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern on shrmedia.com. Watch on YouTube, Facebook, and the High Plains Pundit Network. The best in late-night conservative talk, the Sackheads Radio Show, only on the SHR Media Network.
Go ahead, I'll say it again.
Some of the best A-roll is going to be B-roll.
Like, what are you talking about?
Just like the last question, you're going to cut a couple seconds.
Yeah, I'm a freaking artist. I can't just come up with this shit off the top of my head. Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Hey, good point. Exactly right. Oh, God.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplains.talkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Sam on SHR Media. You can listen to my new show starting on Tuesdays in January. Get my perspective on national politics, a conservative's perspective on California politics, the latest in the war on terror, all of that and a lot more here on Tuesdays at SHR Media. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Sam_SHR Media.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint, and I'm with Sackhead Sean, Sackhead BZ. No communists allowed on the SHR Media Network.
Damn straight, mister.
Back to the show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you and only you can listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show every Tuesday and Wednesday night, beginning at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com in order to do that. We are speaking to Kari Baxter Donovan, the East Coast political goddess. We were talking about all things in terms of social media. And in terms of social media, let's see, I think White Mamba said that when he was approaching 2,000 followers, that was sort of a benchmark for him. I hope everyone is sitting down because I'm looking at BZ's his Twitter page right now, and I'm going to reveal the number of people who are following me and the number of people that I am following, and it's a shocking number. It's a shocking number because anyone would assume that I have literally probably hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter. Well, you're not far off. You're really not that terribly far off because I have, and again, I hope you're sitting down. I have 2,574 followers. It's stunning and shocking both at the same time. Is it not? Of course it is. Now, if I had a producer, you'd probably hear something like this when I told you the shocking numbers. But I don't have a producer, so that's not what you heard. Kari Baxter Donovan, I'm just curious, how many followers do you have? You've got about 1 billion because I know aliens that are on the planet Zephron that follow you. Now they have to send the interspatial squirrel by hyperdrive over to the planet Earth from Zephron in order to follow you, but they do it because they love your buttery political goodness. Now go ahead. Regale us with.
Well, you're just so generous to me all of the time.
It's true.
On this account,
just telling the truth.
Now, I've had a couple of other accounts before this that had huge followings.
Okay.
And it was, I know what it's, I just built up huge followings on these troll accounts, and so I decided to come out with my own name and start a new account. This account, I have 6,230 followers. Now, I have the same experience that White Mamba had, which I knew I had a plateau at 2,000, then I had another one at 5,000, and it just would not let me get past 5,000. And now it won't let me get past 6,000. Pretty much, you can tell that hundreds of people will disappear off of your account. I'm having the same experience. I just have a few more now. I tweet a lot. That's with 20,000 tweets. And I used to get about one new follower per 2 tweets. Was about the rhythm when it first started out. So I know that I should have a lot more followers, as should you, and pretty much everybody. we can look at the other people who have other accounts and say, yeah, there's 27,000 people. It's pretty reliable that everybody's going to have about the same amount of tweets, followers per tweet, I would say. So, it's not what it should be for how much I tweet and how much I interact with people. But we're all in the same boat. And, on one hand, it's kind of ridiculous because it's social media and it's just kind of, silly, fun stuff. But it's also serious for freedom of speech. And then on the other hand, there are people who have been persecuted, like General Flynn, who has really been persecuted for his beliefs. And so, sometimes I'm like, we're being persecuted. We are. And it's frustrating. But I say keep tweeting, keep writing, just keep trucking. Even if you have 2,000, if you have 200 followers, just keep getting the word out there. And there are a lot of people who are saying basically now they'll start follow trains. Just follow everybody and keep posting and don't stop and don't give up. Because that's what they want us to do, is kind of give up and go away. But we have to think of how we're shaping the culture.
I think you're absolutely
and
correct.
We've really got to keep going forward into these midterms, because we have veterans that we need to rescue, like General Flynn, from the nonsense that he's had to deal with. The poor man has to sell his house.
Yes, I saw that today.
I personally have a story that I wrote about on my Facebook page, and I helped over on Big League Politics. That is a friend of mine, Earl Phillips, who he had shenanigans going on. He is in desperation of losing his house, where his young daughter lives, because he's a Trump supporter.
What? How does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Is he getting sued? Is that the deal?
So Earl Phillips, who was the North Carolina state director for President Trump, was working with the GOP. He had a false gun charge brought against him right at the exact time that he was getting a promotion into President Trump's administration. Okay, he happens to be black as well. He's the only black Trump director in the United States. So there was a lot of stuff that he was lied about. And the story is over in Big League Politics now. Patrick Howley wrote it. And Earl Phillip is an associate of mine and a friend of mine, and I know him. He's also a veteran. And so anyway, they kind of played on this post-traumatic stress thing, and they claimed that Earl had pulled a gun. This man brought a lawsuit against him and claimed that that Earl had pulled a gun on him at a Trump setting where they were working. Well, that has since been dropped. It never happened.
Okay.
And there are eyewitnesses who said that never, ever happened. But, of course, that had to go wind its way through court and basically bankrupted him.
Okay,
he had to defend himself. It's been going on for 2 years.
Apparently it went, criminal? It became a criminal case?
It never became a criminal case because he never called the police. The whole thing was just to derail him from being a Trump director, and it happened to be through the NCGOP. So there's some question there as to who was behind this and why. And why was it just personal jealousy because he had gotten a promotion? Was it a little bit of shenanigans because we were trying to get rid of Trump as a candidate? But they took out Trump's North Carolina director.
Or
state director.
Was it because he was an Uncle Tom as far as the leftists were concerned, and he wasn't stridently inline goose-stepping to the leftists? He was a black man with his own mind doing whatever the hell he wanted, and that was not in keeping with God's great plan, with Gaia's great plan, I should say, on the left. I would expect that's essentially why.
And Earl is a outspoken black Republican and a veteran who served honorably, by the way.
Damn him for that.
This is a veteran, people. This is a veteran. How dare you treat him this way? Well, but because he's a black Republican, he does get pushed on a lot. And, more so than a regular Republican would. But so, it's like, look at the persecution that he's had to go through. He's about to lose his house where his young daughter lives. This should not happen. And look at this, Kellyanne Conway's in the news today, Hope Hicks last week. So the persecution is real. And I think we need to just keep doing whatever we can do on whatever platform we have, keep pushing forward as much as we can, and try to get to the other side of 2018. And hopefully if we could get those candidates in office, then Trump will have a little bit more power to clean some of these swampy things up. But this, to me, is swampy. All this social media stuff that you're talking about. It just shows how deep and far this swampy goes.
It's absolutely correct. That Trump has triumphed to the degree that he has is an incredibly remarkable event. It's a stellar event, and it so grates in the craw of every leftist that they're pulling out all the stops they cannot afford to let him win in any way, shape, or form. You probably didn't hear this, but at the beginning of the show, I wanted to have Dan Butcher on, but Dan is very busy because he's a media guy, and Texas is essentially having its round of midterms right now. What the American media maggots are saying in terms of Texas is that it is going to go blue, and it will be the first in a number of dominoes to fall all through 2018, indicating that essentially the Democrats are going to take control of the Senate and they're going to take control of the House. And once that happens, they will start in the impeachment process for Donald John Trump. As far as I'm concerned, you can hang your hat on that if it were to occur. That's exactly what would happen.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Right.
And then
that.
And then, of course, they'd make sure that they would be completely able to stifle any nominations that he happened to make for the Supreme Court, and any further progress that we would make for the nation. We would go essentially just like California is going right now. And it's a funny thing in California because this is foreshadowing the events of 2018. The Democrats now, it's official, have decided that the elder states women, and maybe, I don't know, is it just the Democrats focusing on the women's? I don't know. But they both have decided, the Democrats have decided that they're not going to support Dianne Feinstein anymore because she's insufficient. She's insufficiently left for the left, and they're not going to be supporting Nancy Pelosi anymore because she's insufficiently left for the left. Of course, she's daft as hell too, but that's a story for another day.
Unbelievable where the amount of communism, that these people want to dwell in, and they want the rest of the country to dwell in, and I don't know. My fear is knowing the GOP and what a bunch of Keystone cops those guys are, that they're going to blow it for us. And so I was happy when I saw that, Trump's choice for his campaign director. But my concern is, I was very hopeful for the whole Steve Bannon, Roy Moore thing.
Right.
And the fact that I don't know if this was planned or not, but the fact that community organizers, and Steve Bannon knows this because he's said it before. I'll tell you who a community organizer is: someone who will kick your butt. That's what Obama is. That's what I've been talking about for 20 years. Community organizers are communists, and this is what they want to do, and this is how they organize events and things. The Republicans, the GOP, refuses, and has for the entire time I've been talking about it, refuses to listen to that and to prepare. So the GOP has no idea what the Democrats are doing and how they organize, and there are numerous acorn-style organizations, their branding, their messaging. They have a get-out-the-vote that is nobody's business. I mean, it's like crazy what they can do.
Well, that's one of the things.
The GOP, forget it. They're like 1939. They refuse to get up to date, they refuse to listen, and they refuse to push back. So there's got to be a Trump movement. It's the Trump movement. It's the independents, the Democrats, the Republicans who supported Trump. It's the MAGA movement. And that's the only thing that's going to save us. Again, it's what saved us last time. It's what's going to save us. It's going to have to save us. So that's all the people, the deplorables, and all the unsavory characters online just pushing that message out there. But it's absolutely frightening. Yes, you can't. How could you get more left than Nancy Pelosi? I mean, it's like as if they don't even know that they're Americans anymore at this point. Like, what is left in them that tells them that you're an American if you are that far left?
They're embracing Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom for governor. And as far as I'm concerned, Gavin Newsom is going to be the next governor. Kamala Harris was the state AG. They're pushing heavily at Tom McClintock. Tom McClintock is my representative.
Right.
Tom McClintock is one of the smartest, sharpest budget wonks that I'm familiar with. I've tried to get him on the show. I may ask him again. I've donated. He's one of the few people that I've actually donated cash to. I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent.
I've met him. Mm-hmm.
I'm an independent, but I still send checks to Tom McClintock because I can. He's the only light in all of California in terms of the GOP. The GOP, number one, they're spineless, and number two, they just don't have the numbers. It is a supermajority here in California, period, end of statement. And so as goes California, so the rest of the nation will go if leftists, the Democrats and the American media maggots get their way. There must be pushback. I know you're not giving up, and I know I'm not giving up, which is why social media is so particularly frustrating these days. But here's what I sense.
Right.
I sense that it is coming to a bit of a head because even people on the left, even people that are working for these various, working for Google, working for Twitter and Facebook are coming out and saying, number one, the whole idea of social media is corrupting, is actually physically warping the minds of people and not in a good way. And at the same time, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Twitter, they all want to invade your home even more, and they want to start your children younger. And there are people that are coming out these days from these agencies, from these organizations and corporations saying this is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. I sense, Kari Baxter Donovan, that there is some pushback coming on that, and I think we may see the results of that maybe this year, maybe next year. Now,
it seems it would have to. It would have to reach that point because it's like as if these people don't understand that they're dealing with Americans, they're dealing with humans. What does the human heart usually seek? I don't know what's happened to the people in Google and Twitter and Facebook. It's like maybe they're not human anymore, and they've morphed themselves into these algorithms, but the human heart is almost always seeking liberty. So it's like you can do whatever you want. You can keep trying to shut people out of the public square, but you should know a little bit about American history. They're just going to go back around the corner. They're going to go back through the back door. They're going to figure it out. You can't make people just completely, surrender to your I call it communism, for lack of a better word, your centralized dominant machine kind of thing. And aren't there hundreds of science fiction movies about this? Wasn't the last the ones that were the science fiction geeks and we were always the cool hip ones? Like, what happened, right?
Well,
now we're talking like you are the science fiction movie monsters. What bothers me is that they don't understand humanity at all. It's just you're not going to be able to make people stop thinking about liberty just because you shut them off the social media.
We are at a crossroads in this nation, and White Mamba put this out into the chat room. And I was going to address this with you anyway, so I may as well do this now. I was going to hold it for a little bit later, but Dan Butcher is covering what's going on in Texas tonight. And Texas, people are saying, is going to be a watershed in terms of folks showing up, that there's going to be it was quantified as a blue wave occurring in Texas right now. So Mama sent me this particular link. It's over in Twitter. It's from somebody named McFeels, at McFeels. And the tweet says...
Oh, I love that.
It's and his headline is FTN, Fash the Nation, F-A-S-H, Fash the Nation.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure what fash means. Maybe you can tell me, or somebody in chat can tell me, but FTN, Fash the Nation, is in his header. And McFeel says, don't get too smug tonight, Texas. You're on borrowed time. Demographics are destiny. And then he's got hashtag Texas votes. So there's a GIF here. And the GIF, let's see. It says, this is what white genocide looks like. And, okay. Oh, it's a GIF that's traveling, and let me see if I can stop it. Shoot, I'm not stopping it, because what it's doing is it's going year by year by year by year in Texas, and it's showing you, in terms of demography, the diminishing number of Caucasoids in the state. By 2032, they expect Texas, by 2036, they expect Texas to be 32% Caucasoid. And by 2044, 28% Caucasoid. By 2050, 27%. It started out as 68% Caucasoid in 1970. So what they're saying essentially is what I've been saying about Islam, and that's demography is prophecy. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this fundamentally, and I happen to agree with this particular graphic on this, and I happen to agree with the individual. I don't know whether he's saying that in a pejorative or whether he's saying it in a realistic fashion.
Oh, here I found the tweet. Okay.
But I have to agree with it that demography is in fact prophecy. And here's what the leftists have discovered, which is why they're doubling down on everything. They're doubling down on left. They're doubling down and tripling down on left because they feel they have no other opportunity to go anywhere except this, because particularly in 2016, what it proved to Democrats is you cannot count on the flyover states anymore for support. You cannot count on Caucasoids anymore for support. So therefore, you need more of the illegals to come in and anyone else, because they inherently, history has proven time and again that they're going to vote for more free cheese. And at this point, I can't say that I necessarily disagree with that philosophy, because they really don't care. They don't give a rip about a republic. As far as they're concerned, the Democrats, they really do want a democracy in terms of whatever they vote, whatever the majority of people vote, that's what you're going to have to do and give up with. For example, if the majority...
Now, can I?
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Jump in. You bet. We got 4 more minutes.
I want to jump in on this. This is my little platform on what kind of democracy, air quotes, democracy the left wants.
Okay.
The left still doesn't want a democracy of a majority rules, because we're the majority. Even Trump now has over 50% approval rating. So if they wanted a majority, they would be happy with that. No. What they want a democracy, meaning they get to yell and scream, because there's less of them than there are of us, but they scream and they bitch more. That is what they want. That when they say democracy, so this is like my own little platform where I really want people to understand who the left is. They are outnumbered. But we're polite and quiet and Americans, and we believe in brotherhood and unity. They are at war constantly with us, and all they're about, their democracy means rule by mob. The mob is smaller, they're just louder. We need to remind people, there are more of us. Get your butts out there and vote, and stop letting them bully us into they're the majority, right? And so I'm sorry, I just wanted to chime in on that. It's a little thing that I'm trying to get my own little agenda.
Okay, in a way I agree, in another way I disagree. What I think you and I can both agree on, and we have about 2.5 minutes to the bottom of the hour break. What I think we both can agree on is the fact that the left is moving harder apart because they believe that they have no other opportunity but to do that because they've been let down essentially by the people that once were supporters of the left. Maybe I should perhaps this is the time to inject the word liberal. No one uses the word liberal anymore because it's really unapplicable. Kennedy could be said to have been a liberal. Zell Miller was a liberal. Joe Lieberman was a liberal. All the liberals essentially have fled the Democrat Party because there's no room for a liberal anymore. If you're not a leftist, a stark, raving fucking loon of a leftist, then quite clearly the Democrats have no place for you anymore. It's all about identity politics, and they really have no suggestions as to what's been doing, where things are going. If it turns out, for example, because you and I both know that life is cyclical, we're not going to keep Trump, we're not going to keep the presidency, the House, the Senate, all that crap changes. We're going to go back, and all these gains that we've acquired in a remarkably short period of time in terms of, if for no other reason, the economy, the stock market, well, that's a story for another day in terms of bubbles, etc. But all of the progress that we have made to this point is very tenuous, very, very tenuous. Okay, it's time for the break. We're going to come back if Kari Baxter Donovan will allow. And I'd like to ask her what she thinks is going to happen if she can put on her tinfoil-lined thinking cap and maybe make some kind of a prognostication with regard to Texas, which is occurring tonight, and what perhaps she sees as a bit of the future for the midterms in 2018. Because I am hearing things that are at such a disparate and opposed view of everything else. It's completely opposed. So I'd like to have Kari Baxter Donovan's thoughts. This is the final segment, folks. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin on BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct on the SHR Media Network. Go quick like a bunny, shrmedia.com. You can watch live on the SHR Media Facebook page. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads radio show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Hey guys, this is Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Check us out every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network.
And this is Sackhead Clint, as the best-looking one of the bunch. It's my duty to remind you to check us out on our YouTube channel.
And don't forget to check us out on the SHR Media Facebook page. The best-looking one? Really? You going to go there?
I
every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the SHR
Voters' Choice.
Media
I have the award right here.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
This is Sam on SHR Media. You can listen to my new show starting on Tuesdays in January. Get my perspective on national politics, a conservative's perspective on California politics, the latest in the war on terror, all of that and a lot more here on Tuesdays at SHR Media. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Sam_SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplains.talkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show.
And Sackheads BZ.
Wait, I'm Sean.
No, I'm Sean.
All right, listen, we'll figure this out every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the...
Where the hell is Clint?
On the SHR Media Network, www.shrmedia.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube. Now, right back to this amazing show right here on the SHR Media Network.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are in fact listening to the SHR Media Network. It is the final segment of the 2-hour bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, in which we have had the distinct honor and privilege of speaking to the East Coast political goddess. That is Kari Baxter Donovan, live and direct. It's, it is 9:35 on the left coast, which means that it's way past the witching hour on the far east coast, which is where she is right now. It's 0 dark 35 hours, and in Bolivia, it's 1973 and 25.72323.7 hours Bolivian time. And so welcome back to Kari Baxter Donovan. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about perhaps the midterms, and then I want to go over, I said at the beginning of the show that I had some articles that I'd like to go over and some topics that I'd like to go over. I'm going to read them, and I think this will... Well, first, I forget my manners. Damn me, I'm sorry, I forget my manners. Is it okay with you, Kari Baxter Donovan, if we go to the end of the show, you and I?
Yes, please, let's go.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's just... I had to check. It's only the honest thing to do, just to make sure. So first things first. Actually, what I said at the beginning of the show is there was some great things that were in the news today and yesterday, and the American media maggots are trying to portray everything as so terribly bleak. No, if you're actually reading the news and you're an informed individual, then you're discovering that there's a lot of good stuff that's going on, and I'd like to review those things with you. But first, Kari Baxter Donovan, what do you think about what may be occurring in Texas right now, even as we speak, as various votes are collated, and perhaps what do you see for the rest of 2018?
So I'm watching here, and I'm seeing that this giant blue wave that they've been predicting is not coming through for them very well. That at 12:20 they've got 880,500 Democrats and 1,400,000 900. What number? I'm looking at numbers all over the place. 3 times as many Republicans? I don't know. It doesn't look like their blue wave is coming through here very well for them.
No, that can't be, because I was listening all day. I went on CNN. I actually went on CNN and MSNBC.
Did you hear some polling or something?
They were telling me that this is going to be the fucking blue tsunami of tsunamis. This is going to be a tsunami worse than Japan. It's going to kick every nuclear reactor out of the United States.
Right? Right. It's a drama. So this is going to be a little bit graphic, so I hope that nobody gets it bad in the feels over this. But I used to watch Obama walk, and he was like a pencil-thin rail waif of a little fart, walking around like he had 10-pound balls. Oh, did you ever see how he sauntered around? Like, yeah, I got 10-pound balls. And then he'd open his mouth, and I'd think, I could knock you over. You punk. That's what I think. That's what I think of their blue wave right now. You got a lot of muster, you got a lot of big talking going on, you got nothing.
I think of Obama on a bicycle. Remember that quintessential photograph of Obama on a bicycle, and the fucktard is wearing a helmet on a bicycle. Oh my God, dude!
And I'm not supposed to assault the president of the United States, so I'm not going to admit that I thought this then. But what I was thinking was, I could fall on you and knock you over. You're so frail and small, and you're getting me in my Scottish back, and I feel like I want to go to war with you. But then I look at you and I think that you're so small and frail and ridiculous.
You might really hurt.
So that's what I think of their blue wave.
Yeah,
that's what I think of their blue wave. Now I just read that NPR is now claiming that Democrats are hoping to turn parts, quote unquote.
No. They were.
So they're already backtracking.
No. They were. I swear to God, Kari Baxter Donovan, they were assuring me all damn day that this was going to be a massive blue wave that overtook Texas
in a fashion. A lot of money into that.
In a fashion
theory.
and a way that we will not have seen for years and years.
Never.
A wave, the magnitude.
Here's my thing: is
huge,
these people exist for the moment. They never think, if that doesn't happen, what will we do? It's like they only go from minute to minute to minute. They don't think well, what if we're really wrong, and then the next time we do this, who's going to? Well, you're going to have less people believe you, which is probably the reason why they don't have as many people as they expected. What do they? They can't even count their own people at this point. They don't. They lie to themselves so much they don't even know their own polling, if it's real or not real. It reminds me of the night before, 2 nights before the election, when I went on a black radio station in D.C. and talked to them, and they flipped out when I said, 100% chance Trump is going to win. Your polling is wrong. You've been lied to.
Oh.
And they lost their minds on me. These people don't even know.
If I had a producer.
So some of the people who are lying to you, they really believe their own press. Remember the whole thing when you were told, did your parents ever tell you never believe your own press? Yeah, well, these people, they screwed it all up, these leftists, this blue wave. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but it wasn't true, BZ. They lied to you.
Kari, you're breaking my heart. My heart is being torn asunder.
And I never meant to do that.
By the words that are coming out of your mouth. It's like, who was it? It wasn't Chris Rock, but there was another actor who said, "Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?" And the words that are coming out of your mouth are depressing. I'm feeling so bad. No, I'm not. That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit.
Right.
I'm feeling much better. Thank you very much. Now, what do you see for the rest of 2018? Because this is just Texas. This is just one state. And according to Obama, we have 57 more states to worry about. So what do you see about the rest of the United States of America in 2018?
I think that they're going to have I think that they're going to have 10-pound balls, and they're going to drag them all over social media and all over everything. And to tell you the truth, I want everyone to be scared to death so that they grab up every neighbor they can find and get themselves out to their polling in whatever state they're in, no matter what the race is, and get this thing done for Trump, because we have to do it. So I don't want to dispel. I don't want to be too cool, because I want people to be scared. Get out there and vote. But between you, me, and the lamppost, because I just want it to kind of be a secret. I'm not really that worried.
Okay, so what you're saying basically is, hey, don't give up, but stay frosty. Stay frosty, folks.
Here is the judge hearing the case,
right, and scare everybody. Scare everybody else.
Yep.
Scare them until they feel like, can I vote today? Can I vote 10 times? No, I didn't say that. I never said that. We only vote one time because we follow the laws.
You're not in Chicago, Kari. Come on. It's regional. You're not in Chicago. Okay, we got about 17 more minutes left. I'd like to go over some stories, because that means actually we got about 14 minutes left, because the outro takes a couple of minutes.
Okay.
The stories this week were buried, but some of them, most of them actually, are excellent. They're excellent stories. For one, here's one headline. Federal judge rules against challenge to Trump border wall. Well, wait a minute. What does that mean?
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean? A federal judge on Tuesday, today, ruled, well, actually, it's tomorrow for you, yesterday for you, today for me. A federal judge on today ruled against an environmental challenge to President Trump's border wall, delivering a win to the Trump administration in a decision that allows construction plans to move ahead on the border wall. In a 101-page ruling, U.S. District Court Judge Gonzalo Curiel, remember that name? Does that strike a chord in you in some fashion? Wrote that both Congress...
That was the Trump University, right?
Wrote that both Congress and the executive branch share responsibilities in protecting the country from terrorists and contraband illegally entering at the borders. The case involved the Trump administration's ability to ignore environmental laws in the construction of the wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. The project had been challenged by several environmental groups, wait for it, and the state of California. The ruling will now allow the administration to issue waivers on environmental laws and build sections of the border wall. Any thoughts on that, Kari Baxter Donovan?
Yeah, okay, so here's my thought on that. Hopefully I'm not going off into the weeds on this on you, but I think that there's a lot of what we see in the media, and we think, oh, this is what's going on in politics, but then there's actually a whole lot of things that are going on officially that are not being covered. And one of them is, I think people are starting to realize that Trump is going to win, and they need to get their butts in gear, and they need to start doing the right things. So we see some of the most interesting people who are starting to side with Trump because he's right. I think that some people are seeing what's happening with the swamp and, this FISA court stuff and all of these things, and they're starting to think, I better start doing my job the right way. California, now Jeff Sessions is going to be making some big announcement in California tomorrow.
You just bigfooted my next story.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I just kind of see this. Sorry.
That's okay.
So,
do you know why? Because it's a damn good story.
There's a whole bunch of official people. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of official people doing official things, and some of them are doing the right thing, and we're not really getting the full story from any of the news media, So I try to go to press releases myself when I'm really wanting to get news. I go to the State Department press releases. Any congressman who I've seen on TV, I go to their site, look for their press releases.
California,
it's hard for me to believe.
California Attorney General Xavier Becerra issued a statement saying his office will, quote, evaluate all our options, and we are prepared to do what is necessary to protect our people, our values, and our economy from federal overreach. Really? Seems like immigration and the border wall is within the federal purvey. A medieval wall along the U.S.-Mexico border simply does not belong in the 21st century, Becerra said. Now, I have to ask you one fundamental question. What do you suppose, Kari Baxter Donovan? I'm not trying to place my thumb on you and pin you down on something, but I'm just asking, what do you think is the largest reason that people, leftists, the American media maggots and Democrats, the largest reason that they do not want a border wall? And I can tell you exactly why, but
because they want the vote.
Okay, they want the vote. But yes, but
they're making lots of statements about how, and they want the votes, and they've made statements that these people have constitutional rights. Now, I say no, they don't have constitutional rights. Oh, but the Supreme Court ruled they have constitutional rights. They say no, they don't. They have constitutional protections. They do not have constitutional rights, and do not let them even squirm their way into that, because where they're going to go with that is from constitutional rights to voting rights.
Let me tell you,
because if you allow them to get away with that, they're going to push it into voting rights, and that's what the whole entire kit and caboodle is about.
You're right on that level. I will grant you completely. I accede completely to that viewpoint. There's one further fundamental reason why Democrats don't want a wall.
Oh, no, I must be missing it. What?
Is because once you build it, it's there, and it can't be torn down. Once it's up,
I had thought about this the other day.
It's
I must have
infrastructure.
Gotten it from you,
The federal government does not remove infrastructure, and they know that once it goes up, and you do in fact spend $1 billion on it or more, it's up. Period. End of statement. Now, there's another story. This is another great story from a judge. This is the headline. Trump administration can withhold grant from California over sanctuary concerns, judge rules. This is from San Francisco. Yeah. The Trump administration will not immediately have to award California a grant, will not have to immediately award California a grant being withheld over concerns the state is a sanctuary for people in the country illegally, a federal judge said Monday. The amount of money at issue, $1 million, was relatively small and was at this point only delayed, not denied. U.S. District Judge William Orrick said, while he rejected the state's request for a preliminary injunction to turn over the money, he also rejected a request by the U.S. Department of Justice to dismiss California's lawsuit. The judge said the suit raised weighty and novel constitutional issues that would benefit from additional arguments. So, but I have to tell you, that's winning one. Oh, but wait. There's more. Are you ready? Are you sitting down?
I am. I'm sitting down, yes.
The DOJ, the Department of Justice, and then once I read this, I would like your response to all of these. The Justice Department, the DOJ, is going to sue California over sanctuary laws that aid those in U.S. illegally. This is a suit that is coming from the DOJ. The Justice Department dramatically escalated its war on sanctuary jurisdictions yesterday, Tuesday, alleging in a lawsuit against the state of California that the state of California has violated the Constitution with laws that are friendly to undocumented immigrants. We've waited far too damn long for something like this. In a complaint filed in U.S. District Court in Sacramento, that's me. That's right here today. Tuesday. 2 miles. This studio is 2 damn miles from the belly of the beast. When I say that I broadcast behind enemy lines in occupied California, I'm not kidding. I can sense the closer, like I say, that I get to downtown Sacramento, I can fucking smell the sulfur. And on a bad night, when the winds are going easterly, the sulfur comes over in this direction as well. Just after 9 p.m. Eastern Time, the Justice Department alleged that 3 recently enacted California laws obstruct enforcement of federal immigration law and harm public safety. Were you aware, Kari Baxter Donovan, that Xavier Becerra has a law that was enacted that if employers happen to do anything about someone they suspect as an immigrant, that they will be prosecuted by the Attorney General of the state of California. That's absolutely against federal law. So at this point, employers in the state of California do not know whether to shit or go blind. Because on one hand, federal law is telling them one thing, that, yes, if they know of illegals, that's wrong. And the state of California, under the Attorney General Xavier Becerra, is saying, if you out any of these people, we will prosecute you with the full weight of the state of California. So this, in terms of the DOJ suing the state of California, I can't wait. Bring it on. So as far as I'm concerned, those 3 in a row, those are great news this week. Kari Baxter Donovan, we have about 3.5 more minutes. I'd like your opinion on these. Go. Boom.
So I think that Jeff Sessions has been getting a bum rap because of a lot of these things that are going on with Mueller, but he's doing some interesting things. Now, I'm not an expert on Jeff Sessions, and he's not really in my wheelhouse, but I see him doing some positive things, like these stories that you're reading.
Okay.
I'm not sure what to say about him. I need to study him a little bit more, but I see him as being somewhat assertive here. Right? I don't know. So
he's being more assertive than he has in the past. That is for sure.
Then I know that there's a lot of voter fraud cases that are going in topics that are going to start to come up. And I think that what we're going to uncover is how many illegals voted for Hillary, especially in California.
Well,
so I think that you're going to get hit with a multi-pronged media, blitz on the state of California and what's happening there.
Oh, okay, I can't let this pass. I cannot let this pass. Let's go back to the statistics, because I'm sure that being on the East Coast, you were already aware of Philadelphia saying something similar to the effect that they have indications that 500,000 illegals voted in the 2016 election. And I say, do the logical extension. It was basically California with 2 million votes that put that gave leftists the ability to say, well, we won the popular election. Okay, let's do the logical extension. That's their moral ground for saying, well, you didn't really win the election. Yeah, blow me. Bullshit. He did, as a matter of fact. So 500,000 votes.
I think he probably won by 20 million votes, I think, if you peel away the aliens.
Kari Baxter Donovan?
Yes,
let's do the numbers, okay? 500,000 votes in a relatively winky small state, Pennsylvania. Okay, now multiply that times the blue states. Now, according to what Obama says, there are 58 states, but unfortunately, he's wrong on that. There are only 50 states.
Well, he's the king of the world, too, right?
Yeah, he should know.
So, right.
In any event, so now do those numbers. In a little state like Pennsylvania, there's 500,000. I wonder how many illegals voted in California. Well, they're saying, and I have stats to indicate this, another story that I printed and wrote at least last year, that close to 1.7, close to 2 million illegals voted. Now, that's just California. Now, what about Illinois? What about New York? What about Florida? What about some of the other left-type leaning states? What about Washington? What about Oregon? What about Texas, New Mexico, Arizona?
Now, that's what I mean about don't let them get away with claiming that they have the majority. Because even when they do, someplace, it's a lie.
So my guess is, okay, statistically, in terms of numbers, in terms of people that either pulled a little lever or stuck a piece of paper in a slot. Yeah, he won the popular vote, but how many of those people were illegal? I presume to posit to you and to anyone else listening, there was a grand and purposely incalculable number of illegals who voted, and that's what the Democrats want to continue in perpetuity. Kari Baxter Donovan, tell us finally.
Let me tell you.
Okay, I'm sorry, go.
Can I tell you one?
Sure, you bet.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, one quick story is here in North Carolina, we have some notary republics who were illegal aliens on the docket to be removed and deported, who were hired by the state as notaries. And you know what notaries do here? They verify absentee ballots.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be a story that should be national and should be coming out. But so we had them throwing away ballots probably, and because all of a sudden we had ballots appear out of nowhere to, put the Democratic governor in office, and we had ballots disappearing, and we had illegals, and so it's not even just how many of them actually voted, it's how many of them were hired as notary republics to get rid of authentic votes. That's another thing.
Let me throw this out
fraud.
there as a final response or an observation. Was it not Joseph Stalin who said, "It is not the person who votes who counts. It's the person who counts the votes."
Right. So we could be talking about this for days, the different ways.
I can only hope
tried to claim the majority.
That you're going to do. Are you going to do a story on that, perhaps?
Yeah, it's in the works, and I have the person who's got all the details, and as soon as he gets them to me, I'm going to write it.
Okay.
We're still sort of waiting on the legislature here in North Carolina to get fired up about it, because they're kind of like, meh. What do we care?
Yeah.
And we're like, we care a lot.
Yeah, exactly. That's another reason, by the way, that leftists and Democrats and the American media maggots don't want the what's your status in terms of migration on the census, because if it were and people were to actually answer that, it would prove in terms of statistics how many millions more people are illegal in the United States. Kari Baxter Donovan, thank you for being with us for essentially 2 hours.
Thank you.
In retrospect, can you tell us again where you can be found, where you can be read, your social media, etc.? Go.
Sure. So I'm over where I post the most is at Twitter at Habit, HAPPIT 1776. And I post sometimes at Big League Politics and mostly over at Populist Wire and Kari Baxter Donovan on Facebook.
Outstanding.
And thank you so much, and I always love chatting with you.
Thank you very much. It's been a grand time, and it always will be. Folks, we have been talking to Kari Baxter Donovan, who is, without a doubt, the fundamental East Coast political goddess, and thanks for being here. Folks, we got to go. Thank you for listening.
Monsieur has been locked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show right here live and direct on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you'll find me on Twitter at BZepp. You'll find me on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. If you want to send me a hate email, like lots of people do, bz@shrmedia.com. Come one, come all. Try not to use quite so many S and F words if you can. My original intro music is by Possessed Tranquility. You can find them at reverbnation.com. Promotional consideration of course, is by Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And, of course, by Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust, You Can Trust. Thanks also to my personal KC-135 Kettle 1 refueling team, with whom I will be consorting, guaranteed make book on it in less than an hour. Thanks to Kari Baxter Donovan for her time. Thanks to you for listening live. Thanks to you for being in chat. God bless, take care, be safe. Next Thursday, I'll be here.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.